Welcome to the Danny Johnson Show. Hey, do you think that it's the church's job to teach us to succeed financially? Or do you feel like that's not their job? Do you feel, listen, I have to tell you this, okay? Now, first of all, what is church teaching about money? Are they teaching us something about money? Listen, I've gone to some incredible churches and I've gone to some not so incredible churches. I have preached in some of the most famous churches around the world. I've had the opportunity to share the stage and even be given the pulpit of Benny Hinn, Morris Cerullo. Did all 4 services at Hillsong, okay? I've been to some incredible places and I've met some amazing people. But prior to all of that, there I was 15 years ago, sitting in my own church, realizing, like, why is everyone broke here? And why is everyone so broken? And why is it that the marriages here seem so brittle, dry, boring? Why? I would just notice this, like 10 years being in that church, meaning by the time that we moved away. But I'm just saying that for years I would sit there and just go, is this what Christianity is all about? Is this all that it has to offer? Now, obviously, Christianity is not about that, but yes, we know it's about, and first of all, you can't even find the word Christianity in the Bible. You can't even find the word Christian in the Bible. It doesn't even exist in the Bible. I've read that book going on 14 times right now, cover to cover. But here's what I can say, that if we truly are walking with the Father and the Son came to set us free and free indeed, then why are so many Christians' lives such a mess? Why is it that so many of us are going every Sunday and leaving exactly the same? You know, marriages that are dry. Do you know what I mean by dry? It's like a menopausal woman, like dry as a bone, brittle bones, brittle mouth, like eyes that are just ready to just, I'm not saying all menopausal women are like that, but you and I both know that there are some. Listen, if you're watching right now, I want to hear from you. Do you feel like we should be learning how to be financially stable or secure, or shouldn't? The Bible talks about money 2,500 different times. There's 2,500 passages in the Bible that talks about money. So how is it that we go to churches that don't teach us God's financial principles? And if there is there's 2 that are most talked about. One is give, tithe to the church, right? Give your money here. And number 2, largely, money is evil. That does not say that in the Bible. Anywhere does it say that money is evil. Greed is evil, which is the love of money. But greed is also the love of your work, the love of food. Gluttony and greed, it's the same word in the Bible, in the Hebrew. It's the same word. But we hear it throughout church. Again, I've been going to church for several decades, giving it away how old I am. I didn't grow up in it. I did actually go to a Christian school for a short season. My diploma is from a Christian school. But why is it that Christians largely are broke? They're spiritual and broke. This poses lots of problems. I will tell you also, as I've watched this movement of kids going straight from high school into some kind of ministry school, and it's like a worship ministry school or whatever, let's give the name, a prophetic ministry school, all these different ministry schools that are available now that are totally not biblical, like they don't have those in the Bible at all. Not at all, not even close. There was no such thing as a worship ministry school that just didn't exist. There wasn't all of these different ministry schools that, by the way, are very profitable endeavors for those particular churches. But what I've watched out of those kids, because I've been watching these for 18 years now. 18 years the first time I found them, and then I watched a whole bunch of high schoolers like skip going to work for a living. They skipped getting jobs. They skipped going to college, and they went straight into a ministry school that was like super exciting. And I've watched those kids come out, and now they're in their 30s. They have no skills. They have no skills. Floundering all over the marketplace. Some of them have gotten married, and even in their marriages, they're broke. So they're super spiritual. They can prophesy. They can get words of knowledge. They can get words of wisdom, but they can't make money. They can't provide for their 2 children or their wife. They can't provide for, the mothers. They can prophesy. They can do all this spiritual stuff, but they don't know how to do a load of laundry. They don't know how to take care of their family or their husband. And then what I watch is divorce after divorce after divorce. So have we become spiritual and broke? And we somehow have just skipped out on the whole part of the Bible that talks about money, talks about how to make it actually, talks about how to manage our money, talks about investing money. Like specifically Matthew 25, 15 through 31 is an investment teaching. That a talent is money. It was literally, the translation is money, a talent of money. And the whole thing is about the investor. So one being given 5 talents, one being given 2, one being given 1. And the one that was called a wicked, lazy servant is one who did not invest it. How come you didn't at least invest it in the bank where I could collect interest on it? The whole thing is about investing. And yet we're not teaching. Why is it that the church does not teach about investing? How come the church does not teach about living debt-free, even though the Bible talks about living debt-free? Even though the Bible says it's better to be the lender than the borrower, but what? We're not taught how to become the lender. We're not taught how to not become the borrower. So I have one man who writes this. He's like, it's not their job. Okay, I like your argument. This is what George says. It's not the job of the church to equip me to succeed financially. It is the role of the church in our lives to help connect us to God for the salvation of our souls, not to worry about whether or not we are temporarily successful in this life, but to prepare us for the next. Hold on a second. Okay, so where were there churches in the Bible that were preparing us for that? No, our families are supposed to prepare us for our hearts to be connected to God. Church is just a weekly tool to where we congregate and meet together and we share with each other our salvation experience with each other. And yes, we should be learning the Bible on a daily basis. And if we're actually reading that book, George, I'm sorry to say this, but if we're actually reading that book, you're learning about money. So why is it that typically from the pulpit, now listen, I know some amazing, wonderful, sweet, precious pastors, and many of them have come to our live conferences, First Steps to Success, Creating a Dynasty, and they become phenomenal pastors after attending those seminars. And they've gone back and they've gone, oh my gosh, I'm a shepherd, which is what the literal word pastor means. And the literal translation in the Aramaic doesn't translate as pastor, it is shepherd. But as a shepherd of people, I should be teaching them what they do not know how to do. And the entire Bible is an instruction manual on business, on being a worker in the workforce, on being a parent, on being a married person, being a single person, on love, on sex, on trauma and how to survive it. Like the entire book is an instruction manual. So I don't know how we have over-spiritualized this book, created religions out of this book, and missed out all the instructions. That the only instructions has everything to do with things that no one can use on a daily basis at work and at home. So when I would go to church, this is what I would see. And this is back in a church in back in California, I'm like, wow, these same people are broke and miserable. These same people are struggling financially every month, every year, year after year. These same people have a dry, brittle marriage. Like, you look at that and go, I don't want that life. And if that's what being a Christian looks like, that's a bitter woman. That's a gossiping woman. That's a lazy person. And you can't figure out how come you're broke. You're always needing money because you won't go to work. And if you and some of them, like they had businesses that were failing all the time, is like, oh, the devil's attacking me. No, your ignorance is attacking you. Your ignorance, your pride, that you're not willing to learn new skills, that you're not willing to go out and seek out help and instruction. You're not willing to invest into more training for yourself so that you can become competitive out there in the marketplace. So do you see what I'm saying? So listen, you cannot depend on church to teach you because it's obvious that they don't know how, right? And check this out, okay? Biblical Stewardship writes, the Christian world is no different from the secular world when it comes to debt bankruptcy. You can't be a bad money handler and be handling other things well. That's actually in 1 Timothy. Yeah, Timothy wrote that. If you cannot manage your own life, you have no business trying to manage the church. That's what it says. And yet, what do we have in the leadership? Broke people. Broke people. Broke people leading broke people. And why? I don't know. They have convinced themselves that talking about money is evil, and or there's the flip side, the whole other part of the church that like teaches this prosperity gospel, which is also total nonsense. It's a lottery ticket is what they're selling. Give this tithe to this church, and right now I can hear the word of the living God saying that he's going to cancel your debt. Really? Really? How do you feel about that? I want you to write it in the comments right now. I want you to write me right this minute, right where you're at, where you're watching this. I want you to tell me, how do you feel about that? So here, I got this one woman who says this. You're like, how do I feel about what? That you know, it's the prosperity gospel that, oh, just give this tithe and believe and, you know, money's going to fall out of the sky. That's a lie. The Bible is against that. And then on the other side, that money is evil, that is also a lie. Total lie. Complete lie. You need to study the whole book yourself, and you need to see what God says about money. I've studied it for 18 years. No, 20-something years now, where I've specifically studied that particular topic and like, wow, the church would succeed greatly if they followed this stuff. Okay, so here's this. So you can't be a bad money handler, which, by the way, is scriptural, and be handling other things well. Money is just the outside indicator of what's going on in our lives spiritually. According to Christianity Today, most pastors are totally not equipped to talk about money. Less than 10% of seminary schools include a stewardship course. I hate that name. You're not even going to find that in the Bible. Okay, so stewardship. Blech, sounds so boring, man. What's stewardship? It's being faithful with what you've been given. And the Bible is clear that if you're faithful with what you have, he will make you ruler over much, much more. They call their stewardship course. Seminary is expensive, and most pastors have personal finance issues themselves, and they are too embarrassed to talk about it. Our culture is resistant and judgmental when it comes to the church talking about money. So is our judgment keeping us broke? Is it? Yes. Listen to this. Danielle Lessett says this. They just haven't equipped me or the congregation to succeed financially. They say tithe, but never get to the meat. Most times they have no real understanding of biblical financial teachings. I have learned more from you and your circle than all the others. I faithfully attend church. Left church broke, busted, and disgusted. Listen, we might be totally off on this. And I got to tell you, I know of one church that I am really proud of. It is a friend of mine, Drenda and Gary Cassie. They were millionaires and they started a church. They were millionaires, totally debt-free, and they started a church. And they started doing what a shepherd is supposed to do. And they started teaching people how to live. Now listen to this, because Josh Dayane goes here, and he doesn't even know that I've preached there. I've done a women's conference there. These are friends of mine. They're amazing people. In fact, I've had Gary actually come and speak to our clients as well. Teaches this church, okay, Faith Life Church in Ohio, teaches how to find money, how to sow it, and then how to utilize it to spread the love of God. They provide a great deal of education for business owners and individuals on financial planning, becoming fiscally responsible, and eliminating debt. It's amazing. Yes. Now that is a training center, and that's what I think a church ought to be. A training center. Yes, we need to have our spiritual messages, but I'm telling you, money is a spiritual topic. Being in business is a spiritual topic. How to solve problems with money and business are spiritual topics. Why do I believe that? They're all in the Bible. The book is covered with the instructions for those things. Being married, having a great sex life is a spiritual topic. Raising your children is a spiritual topic. We have over-spiritualized this incredible owner's manual on how to succeed in every area of your life, and also how to walk through trauma and tragedy and come out with peace and harmony and winning. Those are all spiritual topics. But we literally have taken other topics out of that Bible, and we've built an entire doctrine around it, leaving every single week broke, busted, and disgusted people. People who don't have a clue on how to live their lives. They haven't learned it in the home. They haven't learned it outside of the home. So if you're a pastor and you're watching me, first of all, if you're a pastor and you're watching me, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I know I have thoroughly offended you, and you have given it your absolute best shot to lead your people. But imagine if you could lead them to succeed, especially financially. Your church would be better off, no question. Their families would be better off, No question. Okay? And if you are not a pastor and you're really mad at me and you're offended because you love your church, I'm not saying don't love your church. Love your church. I love my church. I love the pastors in which that I've been working with all these years. I did a pastors conference for 2,000 pastors once. So a whole training, and we talked about these issues about, do you really know what is going to help your people? Prayer is not the answer. You've already been doing that. It's not working. There's something else. And if we look to the Bible shows us exactly how to change our lives. Like crystal clear, so simple, so easy, it does it. Okay, so listen. So if I've offended you, please hear me. I love the body of believers, and I love my Father in heaven, and I know I've got a really sharp tongue, and I probably have offended you. Please forgive me. And after you have forgiven me, please search out the book yourself. Please search out the Bible yourself and see for yourself that he really, truly wants you to be the head and not the tail. That's not just some prophetic, encouraging hype. He actually teaches us how to be the head and not the tail. Sadly, the church isn't teaching us how to be the head and not the tail. They're making us tails, sadly. And if you agree with me, or if you disagree, write it in the comments right now. I want to read what you have to say. I'm going to spend some time to see what you think about this. Do you think that church should be equipping us in that area? Should they be equipping us in our marriages too and raising kids? Should it be a training center? Or should it just be a lot of motivational messages every single week that are inspiring? I think it can be both. I really do. I really think it can be both. And I think it should be. And I think that the church largely should be the most successful people in the world. And as they are the most successful, and they have successful businesses, they're successful employees, they have great marriages, they've raised amazing kids, they've made good money, they are not strapped financially, they are actually in a position to be financially free. These people, then, gosh, they can sow into all these great programs that need to be sowed into. They can what? They can change the world. So, listen, could you imagine if that's what it was like? You couldn't keep people out of the building. You could not stop them from coming. Like, you would not be able to house them. Do you understand? There would be so many people. And not only that, if it was really like biblical, there would be so many more smaller groups all over the place versus one gigantic building that's trying to house people. Because if we truly follow the leadership that this book teaches, the Bible teaches, we would have leadership rising up left and right. So more cells of people raising up successful families that are models, that are loving, that are kind, that are generous, that are forgiving, that are not judgmental. People that are accepting. Yes. With influence. Who can you influence with all your judgment? No one. You can't. You drive people crazy with all your judgment, which I know there's a few of you right now just coming at me with your sword of your tongue. Too afraid to say it to my face. Go ahead, keep writing. People will see you. So anyway, I don't know how you feel about this, but I want to read what you feel about this, okay? So just talk to me. I just think we could change the world. If the churches became training centers, we could just totally change the world. And our families would be, spiritually sound in every way of the word. Spiritually sound financially. Spiritually sound work-wise, marriage-wise, parenting-wise, health-wise. Totally spiritually sound. Could you imagine? You couldn't stop people from serving the living God. You couldn't stop people from serving the living God if we lived that life. It's kind of fun to fantasize about, isn't it? All right. Hey, if you want a little cheat sheet, by the way, if you want a cheat sheet, you can get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success. I talk a lot about that in here. It's at DannyJohnson.com. Get a copy of it. Again, it's just kind of a guide for you. You know, I want you to read the Bible cover to cover yourself and find these, but this is going to get you started in that direction of trying to understand money, because I talk about the poverty mentality and that lottery mentality and the right mentality that the Bible talks about, where you can understand the financial, spiritual person that you are and how you can get right in line with his financial principles that work every single time. Every single time. So, stop being ignorant. Stop waiting for somebody else to teach you. He obviously has guided you to watch this today. So get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success. Hey, that's it for us. I'm Danny Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DannyJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Danny Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insight